It is Wednesday. That means it is House Tours Day. We're getting started a little bit early. Just want to go over a few things before we get going into the house tours. First and foremost, we do have scheduled maintenance today. Wednesday is usually always maintenance day. Today is going to be a bit of an extended timeout. They're estimating a downtime of approximately 4 hours and 40 minutes. Is to start at 4 a.m. PST, 1 p.m. CET time. And I believe this is to apply the 1.6.3 game update, which I believe has to do with the Red Moon Terror encounter. It's the Red Moon Mutiny part, I think, is coming out. So it's a pretty big update. I'm looking forward to see if there's any goodies that are related to housing specifically. I haven't been onto the PTR in some time for now, so I really haven't had any early sneak peeks myself. But I've heard a few people talk about a few things, and of course, we are constantly getting shop updates with new stuff. So just keep your eyes open for that. Morning Bones, glad you could join. Let's see, speaking of that, let me put my tweet out real quick. And thank you for the hosting. I appreciate it. It's always welcome. The second thing, there was something else. What was it? Yes, I forgot to mention before, but I believe the Lifestyles of Nexus, their Winterfest, not Winterfest, the Shades Eve one, I believe they announced their winners and are in the process of or have already handed out the winnings for that. We did have the Carbine version. It wasn't specifically Shades Eve for the Lifestyles one. I think it was Any Theme Goes. But they did announce the winners for all of that. So you should be able to look that up in the I'm pretty sure it's either in the housing subforum or it's specifically on entity subforum since it was open to just entity players. So you can check out that. I don't think they've posted up the videos yet, but that is coming. I know Chestnut, which usually handles that, is pretty loaded down with a lot of stuff to work on. So just be patient with her, and I'm sure she'll get that out as soon as she can. If she hasn't already. Again, I haven't really checked. I just remembered that I wanted to mention it. Let's see. Speaking of which, we do know that they are hosting a Winterfest version of the housing competition. Now, this is Black Dagger Society that I'm talking about. Nothing has been officially noted from Carbine yet, so fingers crossed they might do something as well. But Black Dagger Society specifically is doing something that is Winterfest themed. Again, it's only open to entity players, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way of, the nature of things. It's easier for them to keep it to their own region. It's less postage involved if they're handing out, real life, physical swag. But it's also easier for like a lot of the items if they have certain things that are region bound. It just saves a lot of headache to try and get it for both. But if you are on entity, do give that a consideration. And if you aren't and have been considering putting together a winter plot, please don't wait. If there is going to be some kind of a Carbine thing, they're going to announce it pretty close to when they expect you to have it done. So don't wait. I think with the Shades Eve, you might have gotten a week, maybe two. I really can't remember. So if you need like more than that, like a month or so, now's the time to get started on it. Just dive in right now. If they don't have a competition, especially for EU players, rest assured, I do plan on doing some winter tours during the month of December. I've already got about, I think it's close to 8 plots on the list so far. It's just winter. It doesn't have to be specifically Winterfest items or Winterfest related. Just anything wintry, snowy, Arcterrary, if you want to say it that way. anything, winterized, that's what I'm looking for. I've been just doing random tours and going through some of the older listings that we've had to kind of pick out some that I think would work. Mostly I'm looking for new places that we haven't seen yet, but if you have one that's existing and that has been toured in the past and I just need some filler, we probably will join into those as well. I know there were several fantastic homes from last year's efforts that definitely would deserve a second look. So just let me know if you have any. Now this is for Jabbit. I'm just doing Jabbit tours right now. Um, but let me know. It doesn't matter what faction, because obviously with the changes for the cross-faction visiting, we can go to both. Um, that said, we are going to do a little bit of a change-up rather than specifying um, factions from now on. We'll just be doing house tours in general. So some of them may be Dominion, some of them may be Exile. I have it kind of noted on my list currently, but what I do each week is usually I look through some of the ones that I already have on my list, and I also do some random touring to see if I can pick up one or two that aren't on the list yet. So those new ones, I'm not able to actually determine what faction they're with. It doesn't matter even if they have a Chua house on the plot. As an Exile player, I can still build a Chua house. So it's kind of, unless I happen to run into the owner, there's no way for me to determine that. So what we're going to do is, starting today and from here on, we will just be going by region. And right now, throughout the rest of this year, we will be just sticking with Jabbit, but starting in January, we're going to start branching out into NA side as well. So rather than alternate between the factions each week, we'll be alternating between the regions each week. So one week will be EU, and the next week will be NA, and so on and so forth. So just kind of prepping for that. I'm already going to be starting some random visiting across the pond so I can start formulating a list. Again, I would mention, what faction these houses are if I knew, but I imagine there's just no way to be able to tell. But that really shouldn't matter because you can visit whatever you want now. So also another mention, if you haven't noticed, we did have one of our fellow builders confirm that if you have your main is an Exile player and you have some Dominion alts or vice versa, when you go onto their plot, you can still edit. Your Dominion alts have become neighbors of your main, or all of your characters are neighbored up regardless of faction. So now I don't have to go specifically on my Dominion character to work on my Dominion character's plot, which is a real good plus. There's still the issue of having to mail decor to the character and having them directly put it into the crate and that kind of thing, but you kind of get to skip the whole problem of transferring money over or raising up renown, that kind of stuff. So that's a big plus for me. I'm sure it's the same for many others. Let's see. I think that's it. Mostly it was just mentioning the house stuff and the maintenance. So let's go ahead and get started. We are on, let me see if I can pronounce this right, Gordma Gaelic's plot, the abandoned Elden facility. This is one I've had on my list for some time, and it just kept getting, it's one of those, you come across some new ones and you just kind of start bumping things off, not off the list, but like making them lower on the list. And this is one that's been on there for a while. I actually thought I had already been here and toured it, but I didn't see it on my list, so we're just going to have a look. This is one that was built a while back. Some of you may have stumbled across it. I know it probably seems like there's maybe not a whole lot going on here, but I love the thought and the time put in, because it sounds easier than it really is to make a ruins of something, whether it be abandoned or damaged by, a falling asteroid or whatever. It might seem like it's easier to do that than to build an actual perfect structure in all its, architectural accuracy. But it's really pretty tough to just kind of scramble things up a bit and make it look like it was something that maybe it wasn't before. So this is a lot of Osun, Eldon materials. You'll see a lot of the pillars and statues and accents of all sorts. You see some of the Osun bits up above, a lot of the arches and things. Um, but I just find it interesting how they put all this together. There's a lot of water elements. These are the older waterfalls, and you can see that they're using a lot of Draken walls for, I don't know if it's supposed to be like it's carved out of the earth or the stone, but you can see also there's a lot of obsidian rocks. And just keep in mind, it's supposed to be ruined because, it's been abandoned. There's a little bit of growth of grasses here and there. You're going to see some damaged bits. And as Bone says, we don't have a lot of broken stuff. There's a few items that have cracks and holes in them, but they're not always of the kind of theme that you're looking for, or maybe they're awkwardly placed, or they have a lot of extras that you can't hide very easily. So it's just fun to watch how people play with that kind of problem and solve it in their own way. So you can see most of the floor is layered up with Cassian floors, trimmed with Cassian pillars. And they've added certain elements, like they've added the fire pits to the mouth of this. I guess it's I want to say it's the Osun drum. Now this has actually got the bunker house right here. It's hard to imagine that we already came all that far, but that's where it is. And we'll just go ahead and take a look in here. There's not too much going on in here. I don't know what any of these areas are supposed to be, if it's like some kind of a portal room where you step into one little tube and it takes you somewhere else. But you can see they've just gone all out with the datascape windows and other things, the test tube looking deals, to really jazz it up a little bit in here. For me, it's a little too strong on the eyes, but I know a lot of people like that. And you can see how they've even managed to build around some of the Elden fab kits. I think this is one of the expeditions, the abandoned laboratory, I think. But you can see just all of the stone that they've had to lay in, even placing certain things to give some, I don't think that's all one piece, I think that's several pieces together to make this little statue area. I can't imagine them trying to transfer, change out the old water for the new waterfalls. I don't think it would work as smoothly as they, with the straight edges, having those little straight lines kind of is helpful. Again, lots of the Elden tubes, but you can see they've used other stones, the swirly rocks. There's the buoyant blue crystal. Again, a little bit of overgrowth. This thing here is a lot of, it's the Elden, I don't know, I call it a bracket, but it's not really a bracket. I think it has a different name. But there's like the Dominion scanner behind there. That's what's blocking this off. Kind of makes it look like some kind of a portal, or maybe it leads to another part of the facility that's a little more dilapidated. Notice the pillar knocked over, a little bit of debris, bits of stone that's coming off the walls. Again, I don't know what any of this is supposed to represent, if this is like a study room, but I like how the datascape windows show through the obsidian rock. And these are those donut pieces, the ones that has the hole that no matter how big you make it, you can't go through it. That's what's allowing you to see through there. Got the gray stones, swirly stones. Again, it may seem easy to do a torn down building and stuff, but I guarantee you it's not. I've tried it myself, or just like going into one of those plots where there's like a lot of clutter. You think, oh, you just throw stuff down, it's no biggie. Really, it's much more difficult than that looks, because you have to tilt things, especially if you have like a stack of things or things leaning against other things. You have to tilt it just right so it doesn't look like it's uh, intertwined too much, in the wrong way. Hey, Poi, good morning. No worries. It's not like you have a job here. Purely whenever it's your convenience. We can handle it without you. I think Bones behaved, so we're good. So here's a little bit closer look to that one. I want to say it's like two of those. It's that thing that Poi uses, a knife holder, I think. And then this is like part of that lady, is it? I don't know. Here you've got like the purple rock arch, a little bit of it showing. Even some cobwebs in the bits here. Here's a good shot. The entrance is that way, straight across. It's just one giant cavern, basically, with this structure built into it. You can even see some roots of like what you would assume is the above ground coming through. I remember when he was building this waterfall area, he was having a lot of trouble, because even with the older waterfalls, they pose their own issues, just because of how everything's shaped, and you may not have the right bits to kind of bring those in like you want. I like how there's just some stray candles out here. Again, little bits of debris, parts of the walls broken off. And again, I have no idea what any of this is supposed to be, as far as if it's prayer rooms or study halls. I mean, here's a chair next to a panel. Was there some guy that like just sat here all the time and punched in some numbers or something? I have no idea. See, like here's a little work desk. It looks to be like some people found this place and they're studying it, so like spotlighting some of the growth that's there. Oh, well, don't worry about misspelling. I'm real bad at that too. I'm real bad at mispronouncing. My husband hates it because I think there's the word premise, and I always say premise. I don't know why. That's just the way I pronounce it. and it irks the crud out of him. He just always has to correct me whenever I say it, or he'll point out when someone says it, like on the television. When someone says, he goes, "See, it's premise," and I go, "Yeah, premise. That's what I said." Just to irk the crud out of him. But yeah, you can see how they've got the walls, all the arches and stuff, and they've built it up. But again, I love the way they look, how they made it look like a broken, I don't know, doorway, window. It's the data escape one. It's basically two of them together, but they've cleverly hid where they want it to look like it's broken. And trust me, that's not easy to figure out how it should look. I think we've seen some in the past work with broken glass and boarded up windows and things like that. But much respect to those that figure it out. So see, here's another one broken, covered up with a little bit of grass and some stone. Now we do have this lovely little waterfall coming off of the fountain here. I remember him having a lot of trouble with this too, trying to figure out what he wanted to do with it, how he wanted to light it. So it looks to be underlit, and then just lots and lots of waterfalls thrown in there, even in the bottom here. Little shrooms here and there. Again, lots of grass. And then you have this, again, I have no idea what it's supposed to be, a containment field, a little teleporter. I don't know. But it really looks pretty grand, and now it's all yucked up. So like here you have a lot of these benches. So this kind of reminds me of maybe, again, like a worship room or a meeting room. But you can see how they've overturned some of the chairs. This is a bench, a glittering shuttle bench, apparently. Even mossy stuff growing on the walls. And if you look up, you can see that there was an actual, like a glass ceiling here, and it's broken, and so the water's coming right through, leaking out. Again, broken pillars and such. Glass on the floor. Just a lot of thought went into how this would look, but and even if you don't plan on doing like a full-on facility like this, someday you're gonna want something broken, and this would be a good place to come and kind of say, well, how did they handle this or that, and it'll give you some ideas. So this is a little bit of a bird's eye view of some of the facility. This little path actually goes all the way around. Almost looks like there was a little bit of a garden park kind of thing, and this is that bird's eye view of the broken window. And you see it's basically like four panes of glass, and it's the borderless, the unframed that they're using, and just got it turned a little bit to kind of make it look all cracked up, and then having the water come into it out of this little drain here. They did a really good job with the lighting. I mean, obviously these candles don't actually give off light. They're using something else. I would suspect probably an orange sconce or something hidden inside the rock to make it look like the candles are giving off light. Again, you can go all the way around this way if you want. There's a huge spotlight being used to light up that. It's probably what's underneath the fountain there, giving that underlight effect and lighting up the ceiling. Notice these are several pieces thick, so it doesn't look like, you know, this flimsy little wall. Even here, it makes it look like there was some more walkway, and there's pieces of it laying down on the ground. So it's been broken as well. We can see all the water, all of the steps, just a lot of time and effort put into placing it. I actually think, I don't know if the videos were saved, but I know he live streamed some of this building when he was putting it together. Yeah, just a different way of putting something together. I mean, we've come across some abandoned kind of facilities. A lot of people's favorite is like laboratories where they have like the strain has escaped and it's like overrunning some of the hallways, and there's a lot of broken doors, and people love the fire to make it look like it's, you know, there's been some kind of a lab accident kind of thing. We've seen a lot of that, but I don't think anyone's taken it to this extreme for like the an Eldon facility. Don't even really know what it's for. It's just a facility. Was it a lab? Was it a like a some kind of a school? I don't know. So that was Gordma's place. Next, we're going to see if I get this right. Kia Wolkenfeder. Kia Wolkenfeder or Fader. One of those. This one's called Camp Nebelra, I think is how you say it. Nebelra or Rue, Nebelru. I don't know. People in the names of their stuff. Um, right off the bat, we have this clever covering for the teleport pad. I still, you know, hold hopes that Carbon will decide to give us a little bit more flexibility as far as how this particular area works on our plot. You know, I know they've been willing to remove certain things in the past, like we used to have that little billboard thing, and the um, the hollow crypt used to be located a little bit further away, I think, and now it's all kind of more compact, so it makes it a little easier to, excuse me, to hide things if you want. But we still have the issue of it looking the same style of teleport pad that, you know, nobody wants to look at. I mean, there's some plots that it works okay, but others you just have to cover it. And while folks do get clever in how they do that, it would be fun if they added some different variations that you could pick from, maybe. I think that would be nice. But you can see this one, they've used a combination of gray stones, uh, not only to cover the pad itself, but even to border it into the walls around it, and Hugel statues, and a little bit of greenery. So it makes it look like a little, like a cul-de-sac almost. It's just this little section, and then you traipse off into the woods. Can't tell if they're using a hill or what on that for the green. But they've had to add in their own grass to make it look more solid. might be some snowy hills. I'm trying to see if I see the white puffs. Looks like I do, but again, it's difficult to tell. But you come into this really nice open area, lots of trees. They're using a lot of uh, the mossy ones. There's some willows. There's a lot of the multicolored, uh, what are they called? Mangroves. Um, Even some alder rock trees and such. Uh, just a mixture of things. Again, it's a good example. You know, I see a lot of people, they pick a theme, they go, okay, I want my plot to look like it's an algarock or galaris, and they stick to those particular plants, and that's great. It does help kind of sell the idea that it's a chunk from there. But if you're struggling, especially with collecting certain types of plants and trees and stuff, know that you can mix and match them pretty freely. I mean, even I've seen some have a spring, summer plot and still manage to fit in those things that are a little bit more icy, like, you know, some of the frozen brambles or the frosty shrooms and stuff that you get from Arctera, and still makes it work really well with that particular. And I think it's vice versa. You see some summer type of plants in a winter setting. So again, still we have that windy issue. So where the red balloons were used for a lot of things in the past, I think a lot of people have just kind of forsaken it since then, because as you can see, if you were to try and put it into something, that thing would just go all over the place and really kind of ruin it. It's unfortunate that that has happened. For the trees and the plants and stuff, it really makes it look a little bit more lively. Um, Although it could look like it's, you know, there's a storm coming or something, but for something like the balloon, that's really irritating. I wish it wasn't as windy as it appears to be. But anyway, let's see. Let's go this way, I guess, since we've got this little gazebo right off the bat. Again, we've seen many variations of the gazebo. Um, it's always, again, interesting uh, to see how people approach it with the materials either they have on hand or maybe they went out specifically and looked for them. I very rarely see the landing pad, the Orin landing pad, used as an actual ship landing pad. It's always something like this. I've seen it used for clocks, for the roofing of houses, um, uh, dance stages, that kind of thing. And here's another use, having it as the base of a gazebo. It's basically just the landing pad, some pillars, lots of overgrowth to kind of trim it up and make it look naturey, and then a dome stuck on top. See how even the space suite found its way? It just another way to kind of accent it, draw attention to this little feature here. There are some fab kits. You can see they've got the small hedge one and the garden one here. I think this is the one that has the little Jabbit that runs around. Don't remember. I think it's one of those. Again, a lot of different kinds of trees. Got some habanero. I mean, that's a desert plant, but they've got it for this little kind of like, I don't know, a place where you come and you kind of sit and meditate or something. So there's your habanero blooms. And this is using the snowy hill to make this little incline up here. You can see they've got the little flitter flies as well. But notice the stairs, that's just the stones, lots of stones for the stairs, and then they've got this lovely little waterfall area, and this is using the new waterfalls. That's where they're getting the little flitter flies. The flowers are from the spring decor pack, and notice how they're using multiple types of stone. I see some sandstone, you got the gray stone, there's some swirly rocks. Look how lovely that is. It's a really nice job. I know a lot of people really like to blow up the waterfalls because they're looking for some really super grand. And this reminds me of something somebody could put like in a backyard garden kind of thing. You don't have to make it huge, but how adorbs is this? Using all of the parts that comes in that little decor pack, which includes a lot of the lily pads, um, the cattail bits. And I think I haven't worked with them myself, but I suspect you would want to put in the waterfalls first, fix it how you kind of envision it, and then build the stones around it to suit how it's broken up, where there's, you know, curvature that's needed. But look how they've carefully laid in these stones to match the shape of the waterfalls. Just a really nice job. I think this is probably one of my favorite areas on this particular plot. Just even having this little curvature is like it's been carved just for that. But if you're having trouble trying to fit them in, notice how they lay it in and then they add in this extra bit. They did it here as well. That's to cover up any imperfections and maybe the edges of the water. Maybe it isn't working quite right and you can't get it to lay flat against the top of the stone. Just add a little trim, a little, I don't know, railing kind of effect. But yeah, really nice job. It's a good example of how to use them properly. And it's just a really pretty feature for this plot. Again, all of these stones just individually placed. All of these, I think sometimes a lot of folks, especially those that have no idea about housing or have never, you know, seen the game, played the game, don't realize how much thought and effort goes into making these little plots. It even comes down to laying, you know, like this little bit of teal flowers and the little bush. They had to put that there. That's like 2 or 3 pieces right there. Just they had to decide, okay, I want a little bit of some kind of growth there. So we've come up on this little hidden cave area. All of the steps are the stones. And then you come out on the top and using the upside down snowy hill, you come up on this little, like a little private camp place. This is where we were before. And then that's how I could have just jumped from the waterfall over here, but I wanted to go the actual route that you're supposed to take. But I love how these little hugel statues are just kind of interspersed all throughout this place. It helps carry on the theme. Obviously, this is a very Orin-inspired plot, so. And you can see how they even used a tree with the roots just to kind of make it look like, you know, you're going down into like a little cavey bit. So it's like the roots of the trees up above. A lot of people wouldn't think about adding those little bits, but they're very important to help play into the reality of what's going on here. So here's another pool. This is using the older version of the waterfalls. Now it could be that later they actually change it up to the other ones to kind of match what's going on the other side. I imagine a lot of this was probably built before we had the newer ones, and they just rebuilt it. Maybe it's something that they're slowly upgrading as they go. But this can show you that even if you don't have the new waterfall decor pack, you can still make some nice little pool areas. It's just the animation's much more uh, detailed with the newer ones. You've got like that little bit of puffy mist water effect and everything. We'll stick to the edges here for now. So this part here, where there's this little bump, that's part of the Protostar Insta-Hills. The only issue with those is if you're leaving the ground clutter visible on your plot, where your main ground is, as soon as you hit the hill, you can see the clutter stops. And that's because it only mimics the coloring, the texture of the ground, but it doesn't carry up with the clutter. I think that would take some major programming to get it to do that. Most kind of solve that problem, making it look like it's standing out as this little bald hill, by just removing the clutter altogether. Others either choose this way, leave it bare, and still others just add their own grasses and things to it. I think the main problem we have with that is for like the Celestion ground type, some of the, I want to say it's Galeris, and probably a few others. We don't have all of the grass varieties. Most of them are browns and some kind of like off green, and they don't really match nicely. I mean, we don't have these little clumps of ferny looking bits. I think that would be awesome if we did, because then they could just easily kind of mask this and make it look like it just came that way. So until we get some more variety in grasses, I think you're going to be kind of limited to either leaving it bald or just having all of it free of clutter. I tend to be the one that goes with no clutter, period. I just find it easier. Looks a little bit plainer maybe, but I prefer it that way. So over here we have, again, this is very Orin inspired. So we've got this little tree village over here. You see a little tent. Look, again, more desert kind of plants. Lots of little plants on the roofs and everything. They even kind of mimicked how like the Orin house is built with the wood, how it's kind of flayed out along the top, and using domes and curved walls for the structures itself. We've come across a few of these kind of little builds here, but this one looks pretty cute. So again, they weren't really naturey. It's actually a hollow dome, I think, and then they've just tacked on all of this, these branches. Actually, it's a solid one, because I think this one is that thorny tree in the back. I think it's the same thing as this, or it could be just those bramble bushes that you get straight off the vendor. Got some of those Orin posts there. And so you have this cute little Orin-y house. But the roof, I really like the way they did that. because again, it's very reminiscent of the actual house. Maybe not this one specifically, but I've seen some either in game or pretty close to it that looks like that. Not sure what this is. Is this like the bathroom? Yeah. We'll just ignore the toilet there. This is like another little snuggle room. Very plain little bedroom. And another one. It's almost like a deconstructed house. You've got the bathroom here, the bedrooms here, and then like the foyer, the living room there. I think it's adorbs. Again, another fab kit. This is the wishing well one. Uh, the main trouble with the fab kits is, again, they don't match the grounds. They used to, I think, at some point, and I don't know why they changed it, but it's annoying for most of us because, I mean, look how starkly different that looks. In comparison to what's all around, it looks like this is like some poisonous well or something. It's killed all the pretty green around it or something. It's, I don't know. The only way you could probably get around that, especially with these decorative type of fab kits, is to cover it up with other things to try and blend it in if you can. But again, we don't have a lot of the like the clutter that is showing here. We don't have those, so I don't know. It's just a shame, I think. It's just like when you have the bunker house, it's always got that little patch of dirt right around it. It's like I want it like all green all the way up to it, but it doesn't work that way. There's some strange little offering table. It's one of those cerulean sky growths. That's what's got these little blue egg sac looking things. Here's some remnants of, I would assume that's where they cleared out some trees for all of this area. They've got the logs here. Here's another little water feature. Again, this is the older versions of the winding rivers and the waterfall parts there. Got a little bit of a rest and relaxation spot. It's got a nice view of the home. My jumping skills are like nada. Here we have a little, I don't know if this is supposed to be like, it looks like a barn to me, but it's like run by LOP. So they got their little camp here. And they got like explosives and cooking and just, I don't know, it's like their little living place here. So maybe they're the farmers or something and they have, I don't think they live inside the little barn. I think there's just, but I like the barn itself. It's just mostly decking pieces with the tiki roof laid in there. It's a nice little manger type of thing. I think that brings us full circle, so now we can go into the house area. So again, I often talk about how you can personalize your prefab home. We see many of the prefab buildings that have like tacked on porches, and maybe they just extend the building to make it look like it's a lot bigger than it is. Maybe they bling it out with a lot of extra little doodads. We visited a house last week that put a lot of ivy all along the outside to make it look like it was really flowered up. And this one does kind of the same thing. You see they've got a lot of the overgrowth layered in here. Just makes it look like it's naturally got some extra goodies on there. And then they've also added on a little porch, little back porch that goes with this little oven. This is part of the prefab home itself. I think they've added the fire and stuff, but the little oven thing is there. And they've just kind of made it like a little outdoor barbecue place. A lot of chairs. I think those are renowned chairs. It's pretty expensive. Very cute. Again, using a lot of the overgrowth. But if you'll look, you can see how the roof is like a lattice, like cross-hatching of wood. You don't really notice it from the outside too much because they've got it so loaded with greenery, all of that overgrowth and plants and stuff. So you have to remember to look up when you come to it, because it's a really lovely little build of this, like the trellis or lattice work or whatever you want to call it. But they've covered it up so you don't even notice it unless you look up, which I often forget to do, so I'm happy I didn't forget this time. But again, they blend it in so well, you're not even sure if it comes that way or not. Especially like this, that's really nicely, just blends in nice. So for the interior, I like showing a lot of the Oren prefab homes because I know in the beginning, even back in beta, people complained about the roundness of the rooms. You had the cozy exile home, which is round. You have the Tua house, which is round. And when I say round, I mean it's got curved walls. Because like the exile home and the Cassie one, they're pretty standard, what you expect for a home, straight walls and everything. And the Oren and Tua and even the starter ones of the Granok and Exile, they all had these curved walls, and a lot of people fussed about how much problems they had designing their house interior around that roundness. And we've seen a lot of fantastic examples of how people have treated those spaces, either by just going with the roundness, like one of the houses I think we saw last week, or just kind of learning to kind of follow the shapes, but make it their own. So the Aura one especially is always kind of weird for a lot of people because you have this multi-layered floor right in the front room, and it's always fun to see what people do as far as how they divide it up. So this one is like a little tea room, a tea house of some sort. You've got like toasts and sandwiches, tea, and then you come in and you have your little drink. It's like a little brunchy kind of thing. And then up here, they got just additional ones. So again, you just find a little nook for you and your friends, and you come and you have your tea and crumpets or whatever it is. But they just got it divided off into different sections. So you can see there's straight edges here, but they work with the shape of the room. Because like this part here, that's actually part of the building itself, and they've just worked around it. It actually extends all the way across, and they just built over top of it in some places. So you get this nice little multi-layered area. You got like the first, you got a layer here, and then the 2 or 3 over here. Most of this is decking pieces, using the stairs, the flat parts, and the railing. And then up above, you'll see that they've changed it up a little bit. They're using windows for the stairway here, and then decking pieces to go all the way around. Again, for more little areas. And if you look at some of the Oran villages in game, you'll see something similar to this. It reminds me of one of the first places, I think it's Sylvan Glade, that has a structure that has kind of like these raised areas up above where you have to go and talk to some people or something and try and recruit them or whatever. This reminds me heavily of that. Just kind of the way that it's open, you know, in the center, so you're not completely closed off to the rest of whoever's in here, but it's segregated enough where you can have a private conversation in one of the corners. Notice they've attached chains to kind of explain how these platforms are being supported. It avoids them having to put pillars like here everywhere, which might interrupt the downstairs more. So the chains give you an excuse not to have to put pillars in everywhere. Of course, the railing is just the Oran fences. It's the same thing I've been doodling around on my sculpture junk. That looks a little out of place. Got the little life that. Not to diss the builder, it's just I thought it was an odd item. Everything's all naturey and everything, and then you got this little lifesaver donut there. And then in here is where I guess they're making the sandwiches, cutting up their little greens and stuff. It's a very simple kind of little kitchen. It's just 2x4s. These I think are the bedroom dressers, I think, the little side table dressers, and they're just using the drawer. And for the fridge, it's just a couple of the airtight containers. And then they've just boxed off this part. Again, this is I think this is the cozy version. It's just that one little room. A lot of people will turn it into the bedroom or something because it's off to the side. And they're using it as the kitchen. They have this little place where you come and I can't actually go inside there, but it's just the oven part. I like how they actually put something inside this. So many people will use these or open boxes like this, and there's never anything in it, but it's always fun when people kind of sneak stuff in. It's just the bucket, but you know, I noticed it, so. So there you go. That is Camp Nebelra from Kia Wolkenfeder. I think that's how you say it. Very cute little Orny place. A lot of fun ideas. Again, my favorite part is the waterfall area, but there's still a lot of like the little village part that's really cute to me. Even something like this, there's a lot of ideas people can take and use that as inspiration for elements of their own plots.